Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lana. Today I will be showing you some books that I bought. So earlier this month I had my birthday and I got 3 books for it. They were not necessarily presents. These are books that I bought for myself. You know what, they're presents from me to me because I love myself. And the first one is Henet by Maggie O'Farrell. First of all, the cover. I've been obsessed with this cover for the longest time and I'm just super excited about this book. I've only heard incredible things and it's very popular and a lot of people have read it and a lot of people have said things about it and I've yet to hear a bad thing. And this book deals with Shakespeare's family and I love Shakespeare, so I'm anticipating loving this book. Henet is a novel inspired by the son of a famous playwright, a boy whose life has been all but forgotten, but whose name was given to one of the most celebrated plays ever written. Also, I have to say, this being like a literary historical fiction, I was expecting the book to be way bigger. I mean, this is a pretty standard size of a paperback and the font is pretty big. So I don't know, I was expecting this to be like a very intimidating big book and it's not, which is good. Next, I got Rule of Wolves by Leigh Bardugo, the second book in the King of Scars duology. Is that what it's called, the duology? Yes, the King of Scars duology. Actually, King of Scars, the first book in this duology, is the very first Grishaverse novel I read ever. So I knew nothing about the world going in and I absolutely adored it. I was so surprised. I loved King of Scars so much, and after that I decided to read Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. I don't really see myself reading the Shadow and Bone trilogy, but I'm definitely very interested in the world and I'm so glad to have the sequel. I remember when I finished King of Scars, I was just like, what's gonna happen next? There's so many things that could happen. I was so intrigued. Actually, I'm planning to reread King of Scars before getting to this one, just because I feel like, again, King of Scars was the first thing I read in the Grishaverse, and then I went to read Six of Crows, which in the timeline of this world happened before King of Scars, and then I watched the Shadow and Bone season 1 TV show, which happens before Six of Crows. So it's kind of, I feel like I've been getting to know this world so much better, but now like the facts are just so jumbled in my head. I want to go back to the beginning of King of Scars to make sure that everything is where I remember it being, so I don't get confused because I already feel confused, but I'm so excited about this. And then I bought a book that I already read and it's one of my favorite books ever, and it's very hard to find because it's not very popular, meaning that not a lot of people know about this book, and I had to order it from, I think, England, and it took a long time for it to get here. And I originally read it via a physical copy from the library, and when I finished it and I loved it, I knew that I eventually would want to own it. Finally, I do, and I want to reread it. It's In Other Lands by Sarah Rees Brennan. It's a YA fantasy book with incredible characters. It's not small, but it's a standalone, and I cannot wait to delve back into this and experience it once again. It's so good. In the back it says, In Other Lands is an exhilarating novel about surviving 4 years in the most unusual of schools, about friendship, falling in love, diplomacy, and finding your own place in the world, even if it means giving up your phone. It's absolutely hilarious, and this book made me fall in love with Sarah Rees Brennan's writing. And actually last night I just finished the second novel in the Fence novel series that she wrote, and I adore her. She is incredible. Then I bought a Russian book, and this is the Turkish Gambit by Boris Akunin. Akunin is a very famous Russian author. He writes detective mysteries set in the 19th century. I think most of his books, I might be wrong, I think his most famous series, which are Adventures of Erast van Dorin, are set in the 19th century, and it's about solving mysteries, murder mysteries. I'm not sure, but I remember watching the film adaptation of this book and I remember really liking it. I know that I enjoyed the story movie form years ago, and I'm looking to read more Russian books by Russian authors, Russian contemporary authors, because I'm not very familiar with them. And so I thought to start with this one, and it's not a long book, it's a tiny book and it has pretty end pages. And the last two books that I wanted to talk about are the first two books in the Raven cycle, because me and Jayla decided to read the Raven cycle. I saw her talking about the Raven cycle in a video and I was like, I want to read it too. Do you want to read it together? And she said yes. And we just finished reading the very first book in the series, The Raven Boys. We just had a lovely discussion on it. There's so many things that we're intrigued by and we hope to get answers for in the next book. We just had so many questions and I'm very intrigued to see how the story will progress, and just to, you know, I'm excited to learn more about this world because it's still a big mystery to me. So I also have the second book in the series, The Dream Thieves, and we are planning to get to this one closer to the end of the summer, so I'm not really in a rush to get the other books. I'm fine with just the two for now. We'll see how it progresses. But if you're curious, I did enjoy the Raven Boys and I'm excited to continue in the series. Anyway, these are all the books that I wanted to tell you about. And I want you to tell me, how are you doing? How is summer? How is June for you? Have you been reading a ton or not at all? I have had trouble picking up books this whole month. I think I read 2 or 3 books in total, and I just not been in the mood to pick up books or even be on BookTube and watch other videos. It really freaked me out at first, but then I sort of let it happen and relaxed about it, and eventually I did feel the hunger for reading again. So yeah, it's been a weird reading month. I'm curious to know if that ever happens to you, and if it does, how often it happens, because previously I had periods of time when I was just not into reading, but they were pretty brief. This lasted for several weeks. I think that's what freaked me out so much. So, you know, let me know about your experience because I'm curious now. And that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one.